It is an honor to share my thoughts on climate change and the threats our nation faces because of it. My name is Bill Nye, as you may infer. These days, I'm a science educator and a television presenter. I may be known to you and your families as the Science Guy. I began my career as a mechanical engineer working at Boeing. My professional license is still in Washington State. I worked on aviation's FEMA acronym, Failure Effects and Modes Analysis. I was paid to solve physics problems and figure out what could go wrong on a 747 airplane. I learned a great many things. First, a modern jetliner is an amazingly reliable, extraordinarily safe machine, largely because it is subject to good regulations. Second, commercial airplanes only get into trouble when they take off with something that's already broken. A system the crew thought was working isn't working, then several things go wrong at once. And when it comes to climate change, the analogy to things already broken, along with multiple problems developing at the same time, is compelling. Suppose Russian hackers had attacked the Colonial Pipeline while a hurricane was coming ashore at Gulfport, Mobile, or Gainesville. Recently, the entire state of Texas, as was mentioned earlier, was shut down because of a snap of cold weather. It was the product of years of insufficient failure effects and modes analysis. It killed almost 200 people. Along with the heartache, the cost is estimated at $130 billion. These miserable outcomes could have been avoided for a fraction of what we'll all end up paying. The pipeline hack was a mean-spirited thing and a lot of trouble. The mess in Texas was a disaster. But the next time, or the next times, may be much, much worse. Back in 1977, as you may have heard, I took a course from Professor Carl Sagan. It eventually led to my day job as CEO of the Planetary Society. And Dr. Sagan often spoke of what he called comparative planetology. By comparing Earth's atmosphere with those of Mars and Venus, scientists came to understand the importance of carbon dioxide and the greenhouse effect. You may have heard. Researchers at Exxon understood this too and wrote about the potential for disasters back in that same 1977. But we've done almost nothing about it. Greenhouse gases are inducing climate change here on Earth, and it's happening now on larger and larger scales. We're seeing bigger storms, more floods, more droughts, more fires, more loss of shoreline, and more businesses and people displaced as the ocean swells. Therefore, the sooner we stop adding greenhouse gases to our air, the better off we have a chance of being. If we don't stop, more of these events will happen, more of them will happen at the same time, and that will increase the likelihood of convergent problems. It was stated earlier in her opening statement. The ranking member said we can't control the weather. It turns out we are controlling the weather. Inadvertently, by accident, we are controlling the weather, and we got to cut it out. Now, everything on an airplane, from the wheel under the nose to the light on the tip top of the tail, is there for a reason. Anything extra that you put on an airplane would add weight, which would shorten the range, make the plane less efficient, make it more costly to fly. But even with that in mind, airplanes are required to carry all sorts of emergency equipment. Life vests, rafts, exit doors right in the middle that no one ever uses. You want the plane to have everything it needs to fly normally, but also everything it needs when things go wrong. These regulations are good. They keep us safe. So just like extra pieces and parts of an airplane that you don't need, we don't want regulations that we don't need. But when it comes to addressing climate change, regulations are essential. Having healthy neighborhoods where things do not stop working is a way to keep people healthy and working. It's why we have infrastructure like smoke detectors, fire hydrants, and all that plumbing, so firefighters can keep us and the built environment we rely on safe. Now, this is where you all come in, members of this subcommittee. We want all the rules we need to create all the systems we need to address climate change. Now, as you may know, I grew up right here in Washington, D.C. I rode my Schwinn bicycle to the first few Earth Day events on the National Mall. I locked my bicycle to a flagpole, probably not allowed these days. But back then, we emphasized individual actions. Every little bit hurts. That was one of the slogans. But when it comes to climate change, everybody,
Mr.
we
Nye,
need big ideas,
Mr.
huge
Nye,
ideas. Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
14 seconds.
You're actually out of time, but if there's something more that you'd like to say, please do so during the question and answer period. So
Okay.
thank you so much.
I apologize for running over. I thought I had set a stopwatch dead on. I apologize.
It's okay. But thank you so much for your opening comments at this time.